Hello, BookTube. Happy 4th of July. To start the day out, we went up to Heartland, Vermont, and we went to a parade they have there every year, and that we always enjoy. They have a tractor pull in the morning, which I really enjoy, and they had a library book sale. So once we were done with everything else, usually when I go to a library book sale, I try to be the first one at the door. But in this case, we did our stuff, watched everything, brought the kids around to everything. And then I, excuse me, I snuck in and to see if they had anything of interest. So that was at the Heartland, Vermont Public Library. Very nice little library. And I did. I found some fun stuff. So I thought I'd start off showing you some modern library editions that I was very excited to find. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat here. This is the first time I've seen this one with a dust jacket. I mean, I've seen the volume around. The Stoic and Epicurean Philosophers. A Modern Library Giant. The complete extant writings of Epicurus, Epictetus, Lucretius, and Marcus Aurelius. So here you go. And this will go nice in my library. I've got quite a bit of this sort of thing. But I was really excited to find this. So it was published by the Modern Library in New York, edited with an introduction by Whitney J. Oates. And it was by arrangement with Oxford University Press. Copyright 1940, Random House Incorporated. So this was fun. And then 3 novels, also modern library books. Modern Library 175 is William Faulkner's Go Down Moses. Still got a fairly decent dust jacket. Let's see here. Again, Modern Library, New York. Copyright 1940, 41, 42 by William Faulkner. Copyright 1942 by Curtis Publishing Company. Some of these stories first appeared in Atlantic Monthly, Harper's Magazine, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and Story Magazine. So, let's see if they do it with this one. A lot of times you look inside these modern library, you just open up the dust jacket, and on the back you'll find a list of all their publications up to that time. So, Go Down Moses by William Faulkner, and then a less than perfect dust jacket, but it's fine, is William Faulkner's Sanctuary, Modern Library number 61. Let's see if I get that a little better light. It's sort of an interesting cover, isn't it? See what they say. I don't say much, but alright. So, Modern Library, New York. Copyright 1931 by William Faulkner. Introduction, copyright 32 by the Modern Library. So, let's see right in there. This one has some underlining. Sometimes bothers me. Highlighting I don't like, but underlining sometimes bothers me. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's interesting to read a little side and marginalia and stuff like that from the reader. So it depends. So this one has something in it. It's Modern Library, William Faulkner's Absalom number 271. Iron number there. This lighting's not very good today. This is an introduction by Harvey Briet, or however you say it. Copyright 1936 by Faulkner. Copyright 51 by Random House. So this one had, I have a couple books with things in them. It's a good way to discolor your paper, but in this case, I haven't seen this. Okay, this is see what it is. Try to do that up where you can see it. A lot of times people stick things like these in a book they're reading. Maybe it's what attracted them or made them go out and buy the book in the first place. This is New York Times Magazine. Article is The Ulysses of the Mississippi. The greatest Southern novel was written more than 75 years ago, yet it remains the most serious attempt by any writer to deal with the madness of race in America. By John Jeremiah Sullivan. I wonder if there's a date on one of these sheets. July 1st, 2012. I'll probably read that. Here's what it looks like. They just stuck it in the copy of Absalom. So that's a modern library volume. Then there's this thing here, which unfortunately will end up losing its dust jacket because it's got some odd damage to it, and yet when you take it off, the book's fine. But I like the dust jacket. It's sort of sad to lose it. It's Bullfinches Mythology, The Age of Fable, illustrated by Joseph Papin. The reason I grabbed it, I mean, I've read Bullfinches, Age of Fable, and all that before, but because it has a foreword by Robert Graves. I don't know how good the foreword is. I haven't read it yet, but it's worth grabbing just for that. So it's Doubleday and Company, Garden City, New York, 1968 by Nelson Doubleday. They have a copyright on the introduction and the illustrations. So something's out of copyright, like Bullfinches Mythology. And you'll see this with a lot of the people who publish classics. They add bonus material or additional material that's copyrighted. So in this case, they don't own a copyright to Bullfinches Mythology. They own a copyright to the art and the introduction, and if they put in scholarly apparatus, that sort of thing. So it's like I said, unfortunately, dust jacket will have to go away. But these are sort of chapter heading illustrations. I don't know how well you can see that. They look pretty nice, and I like reading this. So I'll read Graves again, and I might dip into the stories again. In there, again, I found some stuff. I found 2 copies of Literary Guild bonus materials. It's like book club. They both have the dolly cover, so I'll just show you one of them. Sometimes I keep this stuff. It's fun to look at. So in this case, it's a highlight and a bonus book coupon for the books that are out at that time. I wonder if there's a date on here. I don't see one, but you can get a pretty good idea that the dates in the mid to late 60s from some of the titles. The Algiers Motel Incident by John Hersey, The Fixer by Bernard Mahmoud, The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test by Tom Wolfe. Let me jump around here a little bit. Milton Cross's Encyclopedia of the Great Composers and Their Music, 2-volume edition. I actually have that, I think. Polar Passion by Farley Mowat. I don't have that, and I don't have a lot of Farley Mowat, but I really like him. I read his Gracie's Unders. I absolutely loved it. 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Anything else here? The Case Against Congress by Drew Pearson and Jack Anderson. It's on the back here. They got like a 3-volume set of the most dramatic, memorable novels of World War II. The Naked and Dead by Norman Mailer, From Here to Eternity by James Jones, and The Community by Herman Wouk. Excuse me. So, that's sort of fun to find. And the next thing, David Howarth, Waterloo, Day of Battle. Oh, this lighting is really bad, I apologize. David Howarth, I've got one of his books. It's Trafalgar, and I really liked it. And papers. This is copiously illustrated. he's a good popularizer of history, and like I say, I've enjoyed it. Did another book, We Die Alone, that if I find a copy of, I'll end up adding it to the library because it's very good. So this was published by New York Athenaeum in 1968. So in Great Britain, it was published under a different title, A Near Run Thing, The Day of Waterloo. So, and this one's the first American edition. So moving right along, this one's a real treasure. This is a volume in the Ancient Peoples and Places archaeological series edited by Glenn Daniel. Glenn Daniel was a historian of archaeology. I've got a book of his, I think it's called 100 Years of Archaeology or 150, I can't remember. We'll see it on the shelf tour eventually. I liked it. I like the volumes in this series. They're published, this one is Troy and the Trojans by Carl W. Blagan. Published by Frederick A. Prager, New York and Washington. And this one is a second printing from 1966. And it's volume 33 in the series, Ancient People and Places. I mean, if I see these around, I grab them. I'd like to get a nice big collection of them going someday. They have black and white photos of, let me do a little better job of that, of artifacts. Here's the author, Carl Blagan. There's some line draws. I've seen a few of them around, and I, like I say, I grab them when I do. I really enjoy them. They're not for everybody. If you just, they're a little on the technical side, but they're not technical enough if you're, they're in that middle land there. So some examples here. They got Peru by J.H.S. Bushnell. Newgrange by Riordan and Daniel. Let's see. The Greeks in the West by Woodhead. Mexico by Michael D. Coe. Actually, that volume I think has been reprinted many times. The Anglo-Saxons by D.M. Wilson's. The Egyptians by Cyril Aldred, which I used to have. I don't anymore. So I was very excited to find this. This has some pencil underlining, very minor. Here's some. This shows the deposits and all that from when Schliemann was over there. So this will be fun. I'll actually reread this, and I'm glad to have it for the collection. And the last hardback, I actually used to have this, and I have no idea. I must have given it to somebody. Is Man and His Symbols by Carl G. Jung, conceived and edited by him anyway. I'm not sure what that means compared to writing it. But. So it's Man and His Symbols, a Windfall book, Doubleday and Company Incorporated, Garden City, New York, and 1964. So there's the cover. Dust jacket's taken off on me there. Now here's a great man at his desk. So he's basically exploring psychology, psychiatry, mythology, religion, which are all Jungian themes, the archetypes and all that stuff. I like this book, so I'm glad to have it again. I read a lot of them. I was heavily influenced by Joseph Campbell and all that when I started in archaeology. I still really like Joseph Campbell, as much as a storyteller as anything else. But not so much with Jung. I'm not as convinced. I've read more of his stuff, and yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. But others disagree. So, and then the final thing, it's each of these hardbacks cost me $2. If I'd waited until tomorrow, I think they would have been $1. And then the next day, you get a bag for $1, but who knows what's left. So $2 a piece, that was fine. But the next thing was the paperbacks for 50 cents. And I've been watching another YouTuber, booktuber, the Paperback Junky, and I'll link him down below. And he's been talking about Nick Carter, and I read Nick Carter a lot when I was in the service, and we'd have piles of his books. We had piles of Louis L'Amour. We had all those types of paperbacks because we didn't have room for hardbacks. So I picked up, like I say, for 50 cents, Nick Carter, the Killmaster. And this one is codenamed Werewolf. As chilling as the Day of the Jackal. Well, not as well written, I can assure you. But the torn scrap of paper was found in the debris of a plane crash near Spain. When the macabre message was finally deciphered, it turned up a shocker. Somebody was going to kill Franco, the powerful ruler of Spain. A professional assassin, codenamed Werewolf, had the job. That's why Spanish intelligence called Nick Carter. Nick's assignment: put himself in the assassin's place. Think, plot, move, and with the cunning brutality of a professional killer, a killer stalking an impossible prey, do what the werewolf would do to slay Franco. But stay one step ahead of him all the time. Tell you how old the paperbacks are. That's the ad for cigarettes there. Compare your cigarette's tar and nicotine numbers with true. Place your pack here, and then they have the tar and nicotine numbers. Because true, regular menthol is lower in both tar and nicotine than 99% of all other cigarettes sold. Think about it. So anyway, look forward to revisiting one of these, and that was the book haul. Happy 4th of July. Thank you, BookTube.